testing NATO resolve as their drones are flying either close to and or in some cases
Hello.
striking NATO
Hi, guys.
countries.
Hey, Armin.
Hi.
You look good in pink. You look good in pink.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Hi guys, sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late. Sorry I'm late. The show went on for a little bit longer. All right, how are you guys doing? Oh my God, look at this! BT's back. No,
Armin?
no. Oh, Susie.
I just-
Yes. Yes,
Armin, I
Nicole?
defended your appearance honor earlier. Someone said you needed sun, and I said no. Armin looks awesome and very snappy in his new outfits, and everyone should use sun protection. Leave Armin alone. He's healthy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh my God, look at this. Susie is here as well. Fantastic. Oh my, okay. This is great. Love it. Okay. Hello. Okay. Guys, by the way, we're already live on YouTube as well. So this is, I'm going to, every time I jump in, I'm going to just, because you know why I want to do jump in and be live on YouTube at the beginning? Because this is so wholesome when you come in and you're like, hey, hi everyone. I want that to be captured. I want that to be captured. I love that so much. So I didn't want to miss that as well. Okay. So how are we doing this? Who's in charge? Who's the boss? Okay.
Armin, hello.
Yes.
Also, listen, Armin, do you want me to, are there people who are hassling you about your wardrobe that I need to put on my list? Because I'll do it.
I just said he looks good in pink, so.
Not you, Noah, not you.
Don't let them abuse you. You look great.
That's
Thank you,
right.
thank you.
Don't let anyone abuse you, Armin.
Wait, we're getting echo. I think it's Jose's. No, it's not Jose. Oh, it's BT. Oh, there you go. No echo. Yes. It's you, BT. It's you. No, it's okay. It's okay.
It's cool. This happened to me before. It's cool.
No, I think.
Okay, well.
So, guys, don't speak when BT has her mic on.
That's right. Rule number 1. Okay. Hi. Welcome in, everybody. The usual threats. Keep your microphone off unless it's your turn. Don't interrupt. Don't attack each other. Be civilized. We do not condone violence. We do get a little rowdy, but hi, Bo. I've got the list on my side. I've got Jose, Noah, Jeffrey, and Guy lined up. If you would like to get on my list, put a number 1 in the chat with your topic. Thank you, Sherry. I see you. If you would like to respond to the topic at hand, put a 2 in, and we will get you on the response list. Oh my gosh, I didn't see it. She pranked me. Okay. Anyhow, yes, those are the rules. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you and your dialogue. Armin, if you have an update for us, let us know. Otherwise, I've got the list ready for you.
Okay, so just quick updates. I think you guys know that President Trump just came out earlier. Let me actually read his two important posts, saying, I had a very productive call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, and there will be no troops going to Beirut, and any troops that are underway have already been turned back. Likewise, through highly placed representatives, I had a very good call with Hezbollah, and they agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel would not attack them, and they will not attack Israel. President Donald J. Trump. By the way, 10 minutes after this, Hezbollah started attacking. 10 minutes after this. It took 10 minutes. And then President Trump also had another post saying, very short post, saying, talks are continuing at a rapid pace with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. That was the shortest one I've seen for a long time. So One thing that so there are two sides to this: people who are for President Trump and people who are against President Trump. The people who are against President Trump are saying that President Trump doesn't understand Hezbollah, he doesn't understand Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Islamic Republic. He's talking to them. He doesn't understand that these people are lying all the time. He's negotiating with them. He doesn't. He's stopping the Israelis. Israelis were doing so good in Lebanon, destroying Hezbollah. He's stopping them again, like he always does. Every time it's getting good with Israel, destroying terrorists. All of a sudden, Trump comes and stops it, thinking that you could negotiate with these fuckers. And so that's the. And the fact that the Hezbollah just violated that shows that, like, yeah, President Trump doesn't understand that you can't talk to terrorists. And so that's the anti-Trump position. The pro-Trump position is that President Trump has been here before. He's playing good cop, bad cop, with Israel being the backup. He did exactly this before before the 12-day war, before the Operation Epic Fury. He basically uses Israel's aggression as a way to try to suggest the Islamic Republic that, hey, if you get maximum surrender from the terrorists by telling them that, oh, if you don't, you better be flexible with me, because if you're not flexible with me, like, these Israelis are going to be coming at you, and there's no stopping them. I'm the only one that could stop them, so you better give me what I want, or else I'm not going to be able to stop them, right? And then they play good cop, bad cop, but then all of a sudden, when they get what they want from the Islamic Republic, then it becomes bad cop, worst cop, with the United States being the worst cop, right? That's what people say. And then also another pro-Trump position is that all of these mind games, all of these negotiations, ceasefire, saying like, oh, these are good people, we're negotiating with them, there's ups and downs, has worked in all of the division, the confusion, the infighting, the instability, the political damage to the Islamic Republic, has worked very effectively in basically destroying the political stability of the Islamic Republic on all its proxies. And that is as important, if not more important, than the military damages that America and Israel do to the Islamic Republic, right? Also, I think Israel already knew that this is coming. One reason why Israel was doing maximum aggression against Hezbollah is because they knew that they have a short time before President Trump comes and says this. So they wanted to just make sure that they could get as far in as possible before this happens. So the fact that the Israelis predicted that this is going to happen showed that there's alignment here. Like, it's not like this came out of nowhere for the Israelis. So there's that. So that's on the Lebanon update. On the Islamic Republic update, obviously we already talked about the Pezeshkian resignation and all of the implications of that. But one thing I wanted to add to all the list of divisions that I have discussed here with you guys, that signs of division within the Islamic Republic, is this new theory that I have, is that Ghalibaf is actually working with Trump selling out IRGC. I think Ghalibaf is being used by President Trump to basically identify and strategize against the IRGC, right? And I think that indirectly, so on one side right now, the power dynamics within the Islamic Republic is that Ghalibaf and the Office of the Supreme Leadership are on one side, against Vahidi and Jafari on the other side. That's what's happening. And the basically debate, it's interesting because the Office of the Supreme Leadership is uniting with Ghalibaf, which I think is uniting with Trump. So indirectly, the Office of the Supreme Leadership is indirectly working with President Trump against IRGC. So we have three power sources right now. One is IRGC. One is this new unity. The IRGC, when I say IRGC, we have to be more specific, because there's parts of IRGC that is loyal to Ghalibaf. There are parts of IRGC that is loyal to the Supreme Leadership. So instead of saying IRGC, it's better to say the new Vahidi Jafari alliance. So we have the Vahidi Jafari alliance is trying to finalize the coup against the mullah, against the Supreme Leadership, basically finalizing getting the Islamic Republic from a theocracy to a military dictatorship is now being done with the leadership of Vahidi and Jafari. And the Supreme Leadership Office is trying to resist against that takeover, and they have completely abandoned trying to basically be given to the Paidari type camp ideology, because now the Supreme Leader, so-called, like, I mean, the people who are speaking on behalf of the Supreme Leader or the Supreme Leader, they are now very transparent that with their endorsement of Ghalibaf. That means that they have said fuck it about like being purely anti-American and anti-Israeli. The greatest threat to us right now is the IRGC, and we need to resist their complete takeover. So that's why you can see the Paidari camp being more aggressive against the Supreme Leadership, because the Supreme Leadership has given up trying to submit to their demands. So that's why it's making them more aggressive. And I know this because endorsing Ghalibaf means that we don't care about what the pro-regime Iranian people are concerned about in the streets. We care about the IRGC more. That's a bigger threat to us, right? And given how much the threat of IRGC versus the Ghalibaf Mujtaba camp is a big deal, this is and given how low of a military power the Ghalibaf and Mujtaba have against IRGC, I think they are relying on US. They're basically indirectly, the military power that they're relying on is US military power. This is really weird. I think that Mujtaba Khamenei is right now relying on US military power to save him against the IRGC takeover through Ghalibaf, right? Which is crazy. But I genuinely think that this is what's happening. And also, I don't think that it will work because there's this thing called the Iranian people. And if the IRGC collapses, at the end of the day, there's no. So imagine. So we should actually right now be on the side of Ghalibaf and Mujtaba. We should be rooting for that team, because IRGC winning this battle means that the force that suppresses the Iranian people stands. The Ghalibaf Supreme Leader side winning this will be the collapse of IRGC. So if Ghalibaf is working with President Trump to identify and help take out the IRGC, so Ghalibaf sell to the Trump is that, everything you want, the obstacle in my way to give you the things you want is IRGC. So help me help you remove the obstacle in my path, and you pick me as the main leader and the one that is immune. Like, you basically put me on a no-kill list with the Israelis and keep me safe against the IRGC, and I will give you everything you need if you could just help take out the IRGC people that I'm identifying for you out, right? So at the end of the day, if this is what's happening, the winner is the Iranian people and Israel and United States, because if Ghalibaf and Trump are successful in taking out IRGC and basically removing their power, then we're going to have Ghalibaf is going to be the leader of a surrender period, because then there's nothing protecting him against the Iranian people. And then eventually that would lead to the total collapse of the Islamic Republic. IRGC, Paidari, Ghalibaf, and the Supreme Leadership, all of it will fall. Our main obstacle is the IRGC. The Supreme Leadership, Ghalibaf, and the Paidari camp are not going to be able to stop the Iranian people. The IRGC can stop the Iranian people. So that's why we should be rooting for the side that can't stop the Iranian people, which is the Ghalibaf camp, right? So that's the update. I don't know if anybody wanted to comment on this, but this is what I think is happening.
Yes. So first up to respond, we have Guy.
Okay. I don't have a strong opinion, but I'll give you some updates from the Israeli side on the issue of Lebanon. First of all, Netanyahu is getting absolutely hammered by everyone, from the right and from the left. And Jewish Samantha is celebrating this. The idea that is being spread is that essentially Israel is a proxy state, has no independence, And when Trump says jump, we say how high, and specifically Netanyahu. So as far as like optics, it looks really bad. However, and it also looks bad that like, okay, I guess Trump is really desperate that Iran would not leave the negotiation table. So that's as far as the surface level optics go. As it would appear, first of all, there were no troops on their way to Beirut, and no troops were meant to go to Beirut, unless he means like the planes. But apparently the deal is as follows. Hezbollah stops firing at IDF soldiers completely, like with no caveats, and Israel, in exchange, does not strike the Dahia in Beirut, or doesn't strike Beirut in general. But that's the deal. So like everything that isn't Beirut is open season. And apparently the Minister of Security has announced that the destruction of Shiite villages that have been used for the installation of terror infrastructure and or hiding munitions and so on, that will continue. It is not clear whether Israel would be allowed to advance beyond the current point as a result. But Israel has been attacked by FPVs like continuously for a while now, and it's very possible that being able to get a ceasefire from Lebanon would be a very good tool, because everyone is like scrambling to find a technological solution to the FPV problem, and they're working like by the day to find at least like a stopgap thing before they actually develop the big thing. And some say that this same type of strategy, like assuming this is coordinated, which I'm like 50-50 on, but this same type of strategy allegedly was used with Qatar to get Hamas to give up the hostages. So Israel said, we're going into Gaza City, and Israel bombed Hamas leaders in Qatar, and Trump said, no, you can't do that, and offered Qatar a defense pact. And a few days later, Hamas agreed to the deal to release all the hostages, which no one thought was ever possibly going to happen. Everyone was shocked by this. So it's hard, like this sort of rhymes with that. It seems like the statements are Trump is, stopping us and so on, and not deriding us, but making us seem small. And he himself also looks small in this case. But as far as the facts on the ground, if Hezbollah actually stops firing and we get I don't know how long, but a week or 2 weeks or whatever to get the technological solutions going, this is actually really good long term.
So you think the attacks on Netanyahu is unfair?
I don't know. Historically, Netanyahu and Trump have been way more on the same page than they let everyone believe. It's hard to say. Like, it looked really, really bad for the first 30 minutes to an hour. Now it looks much better. Like when I came in pissed, and I was going to say this doesn't look good for what Trump is intending to do, like with Iran and how much he's willing to capitulate to get them to stay at the table. Now I am not of that opinion anymore. I'm 50-50.
And what changed your mind exactly? Like, what was the main thing that changed your mind?
The conditions of the ceasefire. It's not that Israel is not permitted to attack in Lebanon, and in exchange, or in to advance in Lebanon, and in exchange, the regime isn't leaving the negotiation table, but rather Israel is not attacking the Dahia, which it didn't do, but it keeps not attacking the Dahia, And in exchange, Hezbollah ceases fire completely over Israel. And a few minutes before this announcement, we have now, for the record, they did fire a couple minutes later, but you can imagine that such a command would take a little while to trickle down. But other than that, like a few minutes before that, we had an announcement of another soldier who died due to FPVs. So in Lebanon. So if that stops and gives us some breathing room to actually come up with the technological solution, that would be really good.
What is the technological solution? Like, can you explain that?
No one knows. But I mean, there are nets. People use nets to stop FPVs. But there have been continuous meetings over the last like month and a half for between Netanyahu and several tech leaders, or not tech, like security tech leaders, in order to get them to come up with something. And presumably it's going to be something that can be developed short term, as opposed to, like, we'll need to develop a long-term solution eventually. BT is giving me the eyes, and I'm going to stop now. But
Okay.
they're looking for at least a short-term solution.
Okay, so FPVs, for people who don't know, are smaller drones. All right.
Okay, next up to respond, we have Nail Bunny.
Hopefully you can hear me because it's raining really hard here. I just had a quick one just to ask Armin about, because you were talking about Galibaf and what you thought was sort of going on there. And it struck me that it's very strange to see Trey Yingst say that Galibaf was a moderate. And I wondered if perhaps they know that the Islamic regime watches US media, because they talk amongst themselves about how everybody's abandoning him and MAGA's they talk about it themselves, about what's going on in America. And they have these ideas that they're going to wait it out and the midterms and all this stuff. So they know that they watch. I know they watch. So they definitely know they watch. And I just was wondering if there's even maybe a possibility that this is an actual disinformation move. Because Trey knows what he's talking about. He's no idiot. He knows he's not a moderate.
Well, I do. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I could speak more about the Islamic Republic, that what Trey knows or doesn't know. I do know it's a habit in Western media, even if they are more aware, to just categorize things in the way that is normal. Like, it's just like, I mean, Trey, for example, keeps saying like, oh, Iran every time he's talking about the Islamic Republic, right? So these are just things that these people, the way that they talk about. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right, but I also know that we tend to overestimate how much people that we like know about things, right? So many times I see people say like, oh, this is a very trusted source. They and then I know that, like, well, like, I've seen wrong information from them, right? Sometimes when people's like, oh, trust me, this is a trusted source, I'm like, I don't know about that, right? So I would think, I think Trey knows more than most people, but I don't know. You could be correct, but I also think that we can't be sure. There's many people in Western media who are even on our side and have better information than other people, but sometimes they miscategorize things. And I know we don't want to believe that about them, but it's true. It's okay. It's okay for if they're wrong, it's not like the end, like it's not that big of a deal, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. But I don't know if there's a manga. I don't think like for-profit media companies are trying to, their goal is to help trick the Islamic Republic or anything like that, right? I think they have their own agenda based on their demographic viewer. They're trying to get the most views based on the demographic of the population that watches them. That's their main agenda. So I don't think it's likely that they're participating in something like that. But yeah, but you might be right. I don't know.
I can say that, I mean, for like the D-Day landings, that there was deliberate misinformation, and the journalists did not report things that they knew were happening.
Yeah, I mean,
And
sometimes you get a government.
That's American media not reporting things.
That's
so
different.
that
That's different. Sometimes governments do contact news organizations and tell them that we have a direct request that you're silent about this, right? But putting out misinformation, there is something else. But I have seen many times people that have really, really good information about things to just be wrong about this or this, different things, right? Like, I don't know, like CENTCOM constantly saying the Arabian Gulf, right? I mean, I love CENTCOM, right? But they say the Arabian Gulf all the fucking time, right? So there's that, right? Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes people who have good information just get something wrong. They're not saints. They're not saints. They're not going to be able to get. They're not going to be 100% correct all the time. And yeah. Anyways, I also usually go with the most simplest explanation. So, and I think like just people just getting things wrong is usually the most simple explanation. Sorry, BT. Go.
Okay, next up to respond, we have Sketch.
I'm really enjoying this game of Durka, this Imperial Sith remnant after Palpatine gets bombed to the crap in his little Death Star bunker. I think I would like to know more about what it takes, how much division does there need to be before the government can be declared null, and it starts to be a transitional government being recognized outside of Iran. I think that's a big step. I think it might happen. It's more likely than a deal. Far more likely than a deal. So I'd love to know more about that. I know there's people here that might know more about that than me, because I know these things have happened before. I think it happened in Libya, but I don't understand the mechanisms and all that. I am also, I would look, when you're looking at these people, sometimes they say, hey, we're not talking about this because something is happening on this front, and we don't want to, how should I put it? We don't want to put spoilers out there. We don't want to, we want to pretend we don't know what's going on or stuff like that. We want to act like, hey, we're keeping it on the down low. I don't know how to phrase it right now, but media does do that. They do, like, they won't talk about it. You'll notice right before a strike, they stop talking about a country. You're like, what's going on? They'll focus on a shooting. They'll focus on some other story. And then bam, it gets hit the next day. These kind of things happen, so I wouldn't put past them. Also, you may think this person is great on perspective and great on 3 topics, but there's one they just don't know. And if they just don't know that topic that well, like the reason I do analogies with the Sith and the Imperial Remnant and the Palpatine and the new Palpatine, Mashtaba Snoke, is because I can't remember their names. I know Gollybuff is not a great guy, but I don't know. He's like I don't know if he's the IRGC puppet or if he's the Durka puppet. I don't know who is the Durka puppet. I think he's the IRGC puppet, and they got a Durka puppet. I don't know who's the big guy on the Durka side. And the names, I would say in the American media specifically, the names just confuses us. And I think I'll end on that. I have one more point. I'll try to remember it later. But, try to be understanding that don't give up on someone you liked for a long time just off one report. I'd go with that. Because they might do something later that explains it, or they might do something later that just agrees with everything you wanted them to say before.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that. I mean, I agree that it happens sometimes, these things, but we cannot just say, like you're saying, they could just get things wrong. And these things do happen, but the answer is we don't know. I just think that our analysis shouldn't lean on, the people I like can't get things wrong, right? Like there must be another explanation. No, the explanation might be they got things wrong, and just allow them to get things wrong. It's okay. Not everybody has to be 100% all the time. So, and we should forgive them for that. All right.
Okay, final response is Jeffrey.
So with regards to Hezbollah and its first-person view drones that they're using to hold northern Israel at risk, not to step on Guy's toes, just to build off what he said. So the IDF's approaches are kind of centered around a couple of key areas. He already mentioned nets. That's actually like the IDF rolled out about 158,000 square meters, so like 20 football fields, protective netting on vehicles, tanks, Humvees, and field positions. There's more on the way. Position hardening and tactical disciplines, so cages, cope cages, and barriers around outposts, better camouflage, dummy targets. Troops are spending more time in immediate local defense and constant eye on Skywatch. They also, you have AI rifle sights, so like smart shooter and smash systems. So it's like a camera plus a computer on your M4 that turns regular infantry into like drone killers with auto tracking. You have fragmentation ammo on shotgun like spread with their rounds to give you a better kill zone, probability of kill. Active tech is ramping up, so you have interceptor drones like the Spear Viper, the IAI Iron Drone integrations. It's kind of like Iron Drone, it's like Iron Dome. Adaptive laser and electro-optical systems, so Raphael Dome Drone and Elbix Reed Drone. There's some of the things, mobile radar, long-term, it's like decentralized edge defense, so sensors and shooters, per company set of big centralized systems, a lot of it centering around things like directed energy, high energy lasers operating the ultra short pulse mode, whether they're solid state or fiber based, with on-site AI assisting in the OODA loop or kill chain via neuromorphic edge computing. That's to sit there and bring the cost and or production exchange ratio back in the defender's camp. Ukraine. So Ukraine is actually helped out. There is some issue. So Ukraine's ambassador has offered to increase coordination and assistance to their Israeli allies. Yeah, I'm going to butcher his name because, again, Ukraine's like almost all consonants. Italians speak almost all vowels. So Yevgen Kornichuk, recently said, I think, here's the quote: "We are fighting from another angle against the same axis of evil." This is very similar to the thematic elements that defined the, His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi's statement in Odessa, and it very much reflects the operational realities that define what's going on at a broader geopolitical and strategic level. So here's what he said: "We are fighting from another angle against the same axis of evil. Unfortunately, we do not see much additional interest or appetite from the Israeli leadership in this field. I often hear frustration that Israel is missing an opportunity to save more soldiers' lives." So why is that happening? It's politics, albeit not in the way most people think. Israel has to be careful with Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state when it comes to hostage and other interests. So Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state very much holds Jewish people in Russia hostage, de facto hostage, right? That was one of the main reasons for the split between the blue and white and Bibi's people and, Levin, back in the day. So like full cooperation with Kyiv is on sensitive drone tech they're like trying to find a way to juggle that. What's the bottom line? Hezbollah copied Ukraine and Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state's fiber optic FPV tactics almost one for one. That's competitive adaptation. IDF copied Ukrainian defensive adaptation. So nets, concealment, shoot with rifles mindset. Deeper Ukrainian help, experts, joint R&D, like specific counter FPV systems have been offered, and it's recommended by analysts. I'm one of them. It's not moved as fast yet because people are worried, like, well, Bibi's administration is worried what Putin will do to Jewish people in Russia.
By the way, Jeff, I asked people in the YouTube chat if they understand what you're saying, and it was mostly yes. So this is great. Made great progress. Most people said yes. Thank you.
Okay, next on the list, Jose would like to speak about Central and South America.
Over. Let me know when you're ready, Armin.
All right, ready. Go ahead.
Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, something interesting has been happening in South America. I've been posting about it in the discussion point of this of Skull, but we've had at least 3 countries, Bolivia and El Salvador included in the list, I can't remember the third, that have asked the United States for help with their narcotics traffickers. Yesterday, there was a major election in Colombia, And before the election, the right wing, very MAGA, very Trump like Colombian candidate came to the White House last week and asked Trump and Rubio if they can do something about the narcos in his country. He's not the president yet, but the president said that if Trump did anything, he would be, shall we say, interfering in their country's elections. Well, he did. Both those organizations were put on the terror list. Okay. The thing that's happening in the rest of South America, I wish Michael was here so he can tell us what was happening in Mexico. But it looks like there is a move away from Russia and China by a vast majority of the people, not necessarily the people in power, but the vast majority of the people. I know that the only place I'm 100% sure that's happening is in Spain, because this little old lady called Daddy Trump, we need your help. Can you Venezuela this guy? For Sanchez. Okay. So there's hope all over the world by the actions in Venezuela. And it appears that they're waiting to see what happens in Cuba before the rest of the countries down there commit. There is some Chinese attempts in some of the countries down there, from what I'm hearing, loose rumors, nothing solid. I don't know if Jeffrey will know anything about it or not, but there are some attempts to get back in because they've pretty much been blocked out. And I believe the latest report from that I'm hearing is the drug runners have stopped trying to come through the Pacific because they're being slaughtered, and are starting to try to come not through the Gulf or through the land route's still there, but not through the Gulf, but around the Gulf, around the Caribbean, and into the Atlantic, into the United States. So there's a lot of things happening there. And for those of you who don't understand how this impacts Iran, imagine the United States finally paying respect to the other American countries in Central and South America and the Caribbean, working out a true trade deal with all of them instead of an adversarial deal, okay? And working with that and becoming a united bloc. Even Canada might fall into it from the way they're going. And then we can work as an economic unit to ally ourselves with Iran, with Israel, with Japan, with Taiwan, with the Philippines, with Australia, New Zealand, and pretty much start something about what would be called then a new world order. Okay, while at the same time blocking China and Russia from gaining any more partners, any more running mates, any more easy victims to take over. You know, and it's the people themselves that want the gangs gone, because the narcotics gangs, yeah, you might have an electric government. Yeah, sure. But the narcotics gangs are actually running those countries in South America and Central America more than anything else. And as far as the current president of Mexico, the last time she's appeared on television, she definitely looks like she might be on something, which she didn't look like that about a month and a half ago. Her face is starting to hollow out. Her eyes are starting to hollow out. And Michael, yesterday was the one that told me, hey, man, keep an eye on her eyes. Something's funny there. She's taking something. She's doing something. And that's how the gangs take over of governments. They either get one of their family members of the government members in trouble with drugs, or they go after the actual person. So something's happening there, and keep an eye on it, because it will they will, in a lot of ways, impact everything else that's going on in the world, especially Iran.
Okay, to respond, we have Sketch.
Yes, this goes into onshoring and friendshoring. The reason this is, I would say, good for Iran, it means we have to make less concessions with China and Russia about processing rare earth. If we can make deals with our South American allies to do these processes, we don't have to count on them. And I have a list here of some of the changes that are happening in Brazil. this guy, De Freitas, Strong versus Lula, Flavio Bolsonaro and Tarcisio De Freitas. Okay, they have strong copper, nickel, and iron reserves, major oil, pre-salt. Argentina, Milei, we know that he has a lot of gains in his party, a lot of GDP growth, and they slashed inflation. Inflation slashed from 211. That's a lot of inflation. Kisa says it's attracting investment. Chile has 800, I think this is 800 million tons of real output plan, REE focused, pro mining right. Bolivia, lithium resources. Lithium is very important. We know we love that. Lithium, gas, tin, zinc, natural gas, tin, zinc is shifting from the long mass socialist rule. Colombia, this is one we talked about, had a right outsider, Espriella, strong runoff in June. They have oil, declining but significant, coal, gold, copper, nickel, right surge on crime, economy versus petrol, the left guy, Peru. They have copper, gold, silver, zinc, and growing lithium, also very important. The conservative anti-established momento is very, very strong there. Ecuador, oil exporter from Amazon fields, expansion and push, copper, gold, steady business, right continuity. And this is all added to Argentina and El Salvador. People are seeing that a strong will against the crime is not just because you get outside investment. It's not just because it's good for the government. It's also good for all these small businesses. A lot of people are leaving, like leaving America because their house is worth, the house that they left that was worthless during the gang era is now priceless because everybody wants to go live there, and they have equity in their home. They start businesses. They know that their businesses will be protected by police. They won't have a secretive tax to the gangs. This kind of stability that comes from strong crime policies and having a government that won't nationalize the infrastructure that you're putting in is good for the people, because these people did already have for decades socialist governments that just took those same resources and gave them to China and gave them to Russia, and then they had no security, they had no peace, and the gangs were basically running rampant. So this is a strong reason why everyone is turning right. It's like, look, we will do this onshoring and friendshoring thing. We're all going to benefit, and we're going to have a little peace and stability for the families of our nations. And I think those are the strong reasons why it's going, from Mexico all the way down.
Okay, Armin, you are last to respond, and then super chats, please.
Okay, so just a quick summary of what I've just read. So we have Guatemala's request in late May 2026, basically just a few days ago. Guatemala president, basically this was what Jose was talking about. Guatemalan president requested U.S. military cooperation to fight drug cartels, specifically asking for training, equipment, tactical support, and intelligence sharing. However, he firmly denied media reports claiming he agreed to allow direct U.S. military airstrikes on Guatemalan soil, stating such actions would violate their constitutions. So we have Ecuador's open door. So Ecuador has embraced a much more aggressive partnership, previously agreeing to joint military operations with U.S. forces to conduct strikes against drug trafficking organizations within its borders. And then we have unilateral U.S. action on Brazil. On May 28th, I didn't notice, by the way, what the hell? On May 28th, the United States unilaterally escalated pressure by designating Brazil's two largest criminal organizations, the PCC and CV, as foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, a status that took effect in early June. And then we also had, within the past 48 hours or so, We had under Operation Southern Spear, the U.S. is bypassing some diplomatic hurdles by targeting cartels at sea. In the first days of June 2026, the U.S. military executed its fourth strike in a single week against the suspected drug smuggling. So that was from before vessels in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. So just China, Russia, and Iran connection. So for China, the U.S. views China's economic footprint and infrastructure investments in Latin America as a threat to its interests. But more directly, China is the world's leading producer of, I don't know what, precursor, yeah, chemicals for deadly synthetic drugs like fentanyl. Highlighting this friction, in March 2026, China was the sole UN member state to vote against a U.S. resolution aimed at stopping traffickers from exploiting global shipping supply chains. So that's the China correction. Russia maintains targeted intelligence and surveillance relationship with anti-U.S. regimes in the region, primarily it was Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. The U.S. aims to use its military partnerships to stabilize cooperative governments and aggressively squeeze out Russian influence. I wonder what's Russian influence in Venezuela now after Maduro. So the Iran connection, by the way, and I read this every time I say Iran, you just know that we're talking about the Iranian regime, and they just write these wrong. So similar to Russia, Iran seeks to exploit opportunities to challenge U.S. influence by leveraging its ties within anti-Western governments in the region. U.S. defense and policy and analysts also warn of a dangerous narco-terrorism overlap, fearing that Iran could potentially utilize illicit financial networks to hire cartel contract criminals or hitmen to target Americans. By the way, if there is any funds, this brings us back to the current negotiations between the Islamic Republic and the United States. Some people I know point out that if there's any funds released to the Islamic Republic, a lot of it will be showing up in South America using criminal gangs against Americans themselves. So this is why a lot of people are saying no funds should be released to the Islamic Republic. Those money, that all of that would directly be used to kill Americans using these criminal gangs, and they will do it in a way that there's enough plausible deniability. So be careful. Be careful with that. All right. So super chat. All right, quickly, I'll go. So, by the way, thank you for the super chats. Yeah, go on. Oh.
Sketch wanted a very quick closeout, if that's okay, before you super chat.
Okay.
Okay, very quick. Just to back up what you're saying, 6 nations: Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador. Their candidates or their governments attended that meeting where they all gathered together to talk about the cartel, or their right-wing candidates are explicitly asking for U.S. help against the cartel. They're all also asking for a Bukele model, El Salvador model to deal with crime. And that it seems to be one of the things that is rising them quickly in the polls. So just to back up what you're saying, yes, the crime thing, to what both of you are saying, the crime thing is leading the charge to get them elected.
All right, so say it in the chat is making fun of how I said the country's name. So I'm going to say it on the way I know how to say it, in Persian instead of in English. It's Nicaragua. Okay, so I'm only familiar with how to say it in Persian properly. So it's Nicaragua. There you go. All right. So can I do the super chats now? Okay, so Ice16 in the chat is saying, thank you guys for the super chat, saying, hi all, I had a question about the supposed nuke the Islamic regime. The supposed nuke the Islamic regime was given by Pakistan. No, the Islamic Republic has not received any nukes from Pakistan. If they had received, if there was any plans for that, Mossad would have known. That's not something that you could hide. I know there was probably some information that the Islamic Republic got regarding how to build nukes from Pakistan and North Korea. I don't think if anything else would have been would have been stopped by intercepted by the Israelis. And also, if anything like that had happened, the Israelis would be shouting it off the rooftops. But thank you for the question. Fleshy Interloper, thank you for the super chat saying Ghalibaf wants to escape to Turkey with billions. Yeah, I don't know where I'm pretty sure he's hoping that he could find a place to run away to with billions. I just don't know if Turkey would be the best. I don't think Turkey would be a safe area for him. I think Venezuela would have been ideal, but I think given that that's not an option anymore, I think they have to rely on Russia. But that's not ideal either. But yeah. And thank you for the super chat. Sarah saying, just wanted to help achieve your super chat goals. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. I turned it on late, so I could tell you that we already reached 10, but it shows 7. So sorry about that. And thank you, Sarah. Always supportive. Sherry in the chat. And Sherry and Sarah, always supportive, saying, just thank you for all you do. Thank you, Sherry. You look at this. Just Sarah and Sherry being supportive. Thank you. And now Ida, always so supportive as well, saying, I'm really angry. Oh, hey, lovely people. Hi, Ida. Ida is here in the discussion group, right? Hi, I see her. She just waved at us. Put a 1 in the chat. Tell us why you're angry. Oh, no, she doesn't want to talk about it. Okay. I think I know. Yes, I know. Fleshy Interloper, thank you so much for the super chat, saying, is Hezbollah using wired FPV drones? I think, is it wired or not wired? It's wired. So Jeff is saying nodding. Yes. So yes, the answer is yes. And thank you for that question. Casey with the super chat saying, by the way, going back to the super chat, they're using, what I do know is that they're using FPVs a lot, right? This is what I know. Hezbollah is like really leaning into the strategy. I don't know what type of FPVs they're using, but I know they're using it a lot. And it's really bad, actually. It's working in their favor. And Casey, thank you so much for the super chat saying, have you told Jeffrey he's general now? Hey, Jeffrey, come back. You're the general. You're the chat. YouTube chat has officially declared you. Okay, he's not around here, so I'm gonna come back to this when he's back. This is Noah. Noah just gifted a membership. The Persian American gifted a membership to someone in the chat. Thank you, Noah. Look at that. Noah is in the discussion group. Hey. And also Noah with the super chat saying, some people may not appreciate it, but I love when Jose talks about Cuba and Latin America on here because it can directly be tied to Iran. Love you, man. Oh my God. Yeah, I appreciate Jose a lot. Partly because it ties to Iran, but even if it didn't, Cuba is, like Latin America is a big deal. I know, especially Cuba, where Jose has a lot of information about, is going to become like headline news for. We need to pay more attention to Latin America, so it's great that we have Jose here. Oh, Jeffrey and thank you, Noha. Yes, I agree with you. I appreciate that. Jeffrey, you're back. So we have a super chat mentioning that I should remind you that you are now the general of our group. So the YouTube chat has declared that you're the general of Liberty Politics. So just wanted me to let you know that. Thank you, Casey, for the super chat. And then we also have Fleshy Interloper saying Chile is second largest lithium processor. Oh, I didn't know that. Really? Is that true? That's amazing. Okay, good to know. Thank you for the information. See, we get super chats and get informed at the same time. All right, let's go to the next topic.
Okay, up next we have Noah. He'd like to talk about the IRGC ending talks.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Tusi announced that. Well, it was actually Arachi announced that he basically has said that the ceasefire between Iran and the U.S. unequivocally, is being violated, including in Lebanon, and Tusi was also saying like the talks, like the IRGC was saying that talks are pretty much over, even though President Trump is saying talks are still ongoing. So, and they also gave a warning. The IRGC And I'm not sure which group Arachi is in, Armin. You might know this more than I would. Which faction he's in. But they're also saying like they're giving evacuation orders to civilians in northern Israel. So, for possible strikes. So, just want to get the group's intake on this.
Okay, thank you for that. You want to mute your mic? Oh, there you go. Yeah, so Arakchi is a puppet. He has zero power. He was taking orders from Ghalibaf earlier. He's now taking orders from Bahidi. Well, last time we checked, we don't know if that changed or not. But he himself has no decision-making ability. Okay, like he's not in charge of anything. Other people who are in charge of things just tell him what to say, right? So I don't think the talks are over. So I disagree with that. I think that this is the Islamic Republic just basically trying to look strong to the regime supporters, right? And I think that even if there's violations of ceasefire here and there, President Trump's decision making of when to end the ceasefire is based on many other factors. And if he wants to drag on the ceasefire, he will find excuses to drag on the ceasefire. And if he wants to end it, it's not going to be based on when the Islamic Republic decides to end the ceasefire, right? So it's not their choice, right? It's not their Islamic Republic's choice when the military operations start. It is their choice to basically act tough to their supporters, right? And every single military operation that we see right now in southern Iran or in Lebanon, President Trump could basically say, well, it's not at a level that I would consider the end to the talks, right? And so it's basically up to him. And if he wants to end it, it could be like, well, okay, now it is. All right. So it's based on how President Trump likes to define it. And it's completely, I mean, you saw like right after, in the middle of ceasefire, the Islamic Republic started bombing UAE like crazy. And Trump is like, not that big of a deal. Ceasefire, keep going. And that really pissed off the UAE. Like, what the fuck? I'm being right. What is this? Is not like this is nothing. It's not like, but it's nothing to you. I'm being fucked. I'm being raped here, right? So yeah. So it's not like it's just whenever you hear something from the Islamic Republic, just consider it content for internal consumption to their own follower base. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Respond. We have Sketch.
If you're hearing about warnings around the north, I don't know if it's based on a pattern that they're seeing that there's going to be an attack, or just cautionary, because whenever you leave an area, there is a chance that you're going to get struck on the way out. This is like basic military stuff. Like every grunt knows, like when you're withdrawing, you want to do it secretly. So I hope they were out before these messages got out, because saying, hey, they're going to leave before they leave would be a terrible idea. That's tactically, you don't do that. You leave and then you say, I'm out. So I would hope that they were already out when this happened, but just out of an abundance of caution, you would sound the alarm, because you would expect the enemy to strike during withdrawal, during retreat. That's the best time to hit them, because they're not coming at you. They're going the other way. So you're not going to hit yourself. You're not going to put yourself in danger, and maybe you can take a few out. So that might be like out of an abundance of caution, they would want everybody to be alert and be, with their head on a swivel if there is a retreat going on, or withdrawal, however you want to phrase it.
Okay, that finishes off our responses. Armin, if you're ready for the next topic.
All right. Yes.
We have Jeffrey, and he'd like to give a general situation report.
Okay, so we covered a lot of it, so I'm going to go through it real quick. General overview, key developments in the past 24 hours. The IRGC Elements of the regime remnants conducted asymmetric attacks in and around the strait. Cruise missiles, one-way attack drones, and small boat swarms targeting U.S. flag and commercial vessels. They also shot down one of our Reaper drones. So we responded by obliterating the radar drone sites and other targets and drone control nodes on Kesem Island and, forgive me, in our Matrama best, Goruk area. Mine-laying vessels, missile launch infrastructure in southern Iran. We intercepted 2 Iranian ballistic missiles aimed at targets in or near Kuwait. We have limited escorting, shipping continued. U.S. has guided 70 vessels in recent weeks. Lebanon front, Guy very much touched on it. You have rocket and drone barrages into northern Israel. Overnight activity triggered widespread sirens, persistent low-level violations by Hezbollah, rebuilding infrastructure, tied to the Mullah regime and acting as a force multiplier. Largely peripheral, so that's that. So as far as Israeli actions, ground advances in the south, Beer Fort sector, this is when I did this before, like an hour ago. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, ordered expanded air and ground operations against Hezbollah, including deeper strikes, potentially reaching Beirut suburbs. Focuses were on degrading Hezbollah reconstitution and rocket and drone infrastructure. Yes, I mean, I don't want to go through all of it because you kind of touched on it. The big issue is that we absolutely hammered the IRGCN, like Navy, on Kesem and or their drone and or rocket forces and radar in Goruk. How the hell do you say that, Armin? I don't know how to say that in Iranian or like Farsi or Persian. How do you say Goruk?
I think is it Goruk? I mean,
I think it's Gerok. I was just telling him I've never heard of this before.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of cities.
It's not a well-known island, right, Arnare?
No, I looked it up. It's not an island. It seems like it's in Hormozgan.
Okay. Don't worry, Jeff. Don't worry, Jeffrey. It's not famous, so we don't know either. So don't worry. We need to see the Persian writing of it. I'm gonna look at the Persian writing of it, so figure it out.
It's Gerok.
Gerok. Okay, Gerok. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
Are you sure that was an abrupt stop?
Okay, good.
Oh,
No,
yeah, so I guess the bottom line is the theater is in a controlled escalation, and it's negotiated kind of a hybrid controlled escalation and or negotiation. U.S. military and or Israeli pressure continues to degrade the IRGC and proxy capabilities, while talks are aimed to lock in different things which don't really materialize because the Mullah regime and its proxies violate everything they say. It's definitely operating as a hardened, like the IRGC and regime remnants are operating kind of like as a, how would I say this, a hardened rump. It's like a hardened like bit that's left. Risk of rapid re-escalation is very high considering all the stupid shit they keep doing. And oil markets and global shipping impacts kind of persist. Sorry about that. I didn't know how to hell this. My OCD kicked off. I didn't know how to pronounce that. I didn't know how to pronounce Goruk.
People are saying just call it Grok in the YouTube chat.
Okay, up to respond, we have Guy.
So to piggyback off of that, a bit of an update about the situation with regards to Lebanon. Apparently, the agreement is that Hezbollah is not going to shoot into Israel proper. And in exchange for that, Israel is not going to strike the Dahya, which in a sense is Israel's threat was accepted, because Israel only threatened to strike the Dahya after Hezbollah started striking inside Israel. And I still see, just like the feeling I'm getting from comments is bitterness of like, why are we capitulating to whatever a foreign leader who has no direct skin in the game is telling us to do. But and it's also not as good as I thought. Like, if this doesn't include the FPVs striking soldiers inside Lebanon, then that still very much remains an open issue. But we'll see. We don't know. Like, we've been striking ever since this was announced. We had, I think, 3 airstrikes already, and there has been no attack that I know of soldiers. But then again, this is also something that would be announced only at least a day after the fact. We don't have strikes announced on the news, like strikes against us, like we do for strikes that we're performing. So it's basically a wait and see. If it's including the soldiers within Lebanon that are not supposed to be attacked, then it's fantastic. Then it's actually a really huge achievement. We only threatened to strike inside Beirut and got this result. And if it's not, then it's still decent, because it means that the threat of striking Beirut was really well taken, because Hezbollah agreed to stop firing immediately as soon as we did that. And there's actually nothing tactically important in Beirut. They moved everything out of it anyway. The only thing that matters is the psychological effect of Israel is striking the capital when Hezbollah is supposed to be like the protector of Lebanon, but everyone is mocking Hezbollah for this moniker. But if we strike Beirut because of Hezbollah, then that would further increase the already bad reputation that they have among non-Shiites.
Okay, up next we have Samantha.
Yeah, honestly, Bibi's not getting enough criticism for like the fact that he's basically just doing whatever fucking Trump wants and not going after Hezbollah Shaitan. I'm sorry, but like we need to get on that. It's absurd that the North was like literally evacuated for 10 fucking months when this war started, before like we even went into Lebanon. It's absurd that we're not making more moves to like, you know, not be like, I want Israel to not be on US, like, as dependent on the US like military aid. It's just, you know, like Israel cannot trust the US to not at some point have a president who's not gonna like be very anti-Israel. So like moves need to be made in advance regarding that. And there's just, we should have been going after Hezbollah much more strongly, much sooner. And also when like Hezbollah Shaitan says like, okay, I'm not gonna throw rockets like directly into Israel proper, are they even including the Golan Heights? Because like
What happened? Oh, she
Okay,
got disconnected.
Next we have Sketch.
Oh, she's back.
I'm willing. Do you want to finish, Samantha?
I think I finished. I don't know if you guys heard. I ended with asking like, when Hezbollah Shaitan says they're not going to throw rockets into Israel, are they like proper? Are they even including the Golan Heights, which is like literally right there?
Okay. Just so for people who might not know what Jewish Samantha is talking about, when she says Hezbollah Shaitan, she means Hezbollah. Shaitan means Satan. So Hez means party. So Hezbollah means the party of God. So Samantha is calling them the party of Satan. All right. Sketch?
Yeah. Okay. I heard you guys saying there were airstrikes before they got out, before they kind of did this kind of like certain not this a stop, like there were strikes going into that area before they left, and warnings of strikes coming in. Just from a basic tactical grunt level eye view for you civilians, when you leave a place, the normal thing to do for your support is to have airstrikes going in to cover your retreat and to have artillery barrages. I'm talking standard war. I'm not saying we should do this exact thing in this situation, but when your troops are retreating, you start hitting with airstrikes and you start hitting with artillery so that while they're leaving, the enemies don't start hitting the retreat with their artillery and their airstrikes, which is what I explained earlier. So that goes both ways. You'd have your warnings, but as soon as the enemy retreats, a smart enemy would say, hey, watch out, because they might cover the retreat with airstrikes and artillery. So that would go both ways if your militaries are pretty smart. So that would explain the larger bombardment during a period, during a I wouldn't say peace, ceasefire, like right before a ceasefire. That's what you would see. It's like, hey, we're going to stop. We're going to have a timeout. Before a timeout, you would see strikes going in just to cover your retreat. And the enemy would try to strike while you're retreating just to take out as many. This is pretty normal and standard. But civilians might think, wait a minute, if you're stopping, why are you going hard? That's just tactically what's normal.
But I really want to. Sorry, I really want to quickly respond to Israelis being frustrated with United States. I hope everybody appreciates that United States has been far more beneficial to Israel. Like Israel wouldn't be able to survive without United States help all these years, right? And I get trying to be self-reliant, but United States has been such a powerful ally to Israel. So I do, even if I really want more, I hope Israelis here understand that, it's no two countries are 100% mutually aligned, and every country has their own interests. But when it comes to United States and Israel, it's really hard to get more mutually aligned than United States and Israel. And that alignment is never going to be 100% perfect, but other countries most countries would be jealous of having a powerful partner that is disaligned with Israel. And I understand sometimes that lack of alignment, that even though there are a lot of alignment, but it's not 100%. That lack of alignment is not going to be 100%, and that alignment is not going to be 100%. And those areas that it's not, it's going to be frustrating. But it's important to understand that United States, you expect United States to think about America more than it thinks about Israel, right? The fact that there's already a lot of alignment means that you're going to be working with each other a lot most of the time. But if there's any place where United States is prioritizing American interests, that's what you should expect. That's what you expect of your politicians for Israel. And any form of frustration, I'm not saying that frustration shouldn't be expressed, but I think it should always be delivered with the gratefulness of having such a powerful ally that has benefited Israel. I think that gratefulness needs to be communicated alongside any criticism. I'm not saying there shouldn't be no criticism, but I think it helps if it's alongside communication of gratefulness of having such a powerful ally.
Okay, to respond, please keep them short. We have first Guy.
So here's the thing. I agree with you in principle, but it also goes both ways. Israel is by far America's most useful ally, with the second place needing a telescope to see us. And this should also be taken into account. And the issue is that the relationship is made to appear way less mutual than it actually is. And to the extent that if the US were to cancel the MOU with Israel, which some people are saying, that would be horrible for the US. But the feeling that we're like a proxy state is out there, and it seems like that's the default. And that's why we need to change the MOU into a proper cooperation pact where Israel is also not going to be dependent on the U.S. Benevolence, which is what it appears like now. When, for example, you have Democrats going into the White House with the way things are going for the Democrats, where they would absolutely throw us under the bus and force all kinds of things on us that Israel would not be willing to accept. And so the relationship has ran its course in its current state and needs to evolve into one of a mutual partnership.
So just quick response. Sorry, BT. That's the whole point of the Abrahamic Accords. Like that's what the United States is pushing for as well, right? The United States is pushing in the direction for Israel to become more self-reliant. So the United States is like in agreement on that. And so, by the way, I don't disagree with anything you say. You're 100% completely right. And I just want to point out that doesn't, and I know you know that doesn't negate anything like that I said, because all of those do need to be pointed out. If I just want people to understand, I think like it will be more helpful to point like for people to point that out while also not sounding like they were ungrateful. But those are all very good points that I agree with.
Okay, next we have Samantha.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just agree with everything that guy just said about how like the way that it's set up, it looks more like the U.S. is like, you know, useful for Israel than it looks like Israel is useful for the U.S., but that's not true, and that Israel really is like the best ally for the U.S. Also, what was I going to say? Crap. Yeah, basically that, and also, damn it, what else was I going to say?
So you can think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, go.
Yeah. So, what's
okay? Think about it and put it and come back to it. But let me while you think about it, let me just say something. Becoming a bit more self-reliant. I hope nobody thinks that any country could ever be completely self-reliant. Like, not even the United States of America could be one self-reliant. Like, the becoming. This is a spectrum. I hope people understand that. Trying to become completely self-reliant is basically isolationism, and isolationism has never made any country more powerful. So yes, more self-reliant, but never complete self-reliance.
Yeah. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, so I was gonna say is I agree that America has been the best ally for Israel, but that doesn't mean it's been necessarily a good ally. It's like, you know what I say with America, it's like I'm on Team America not because America is awesome, but because it's like it gets more fucked up out there.
So Samantha, you keep going back to that. You know that's your bad experience that makes you say that. But okay, but I don't want to keep going back to why that's not the case. But okay, America is fantastic. All right, what are we doing, BT?
Finally, to respond, we have Sketch.
Yeah, I think the aid is greatly exaggerated. The aid is about 15% over the time, like it's about 15% discount, which means they're buying billions and billions and billions of money going to us, and there's a small little discount that they get. That's the aid. There's an amazing amount of exaggeration of how much aid we give to Israel. We give to Israel half a Leering Center in Michigan. We give Israel 1/10 of 1 year's fraud spending in California. The amount of aid we give to Israel is a drop in the bucket when we look at our fraud. This is an extreme exaggeration. I don't know why it gets overplayed. I think it gets overplayed because places like APAC Tracker like to focus on whether or not there is some lobbying from Americans that are related, are Jewish or have some relation to Israel, but they're American. AIPAC is an American thing, and they ignore the billions upon billions upon billions of dollars of influence coming out of China, coming out of Qatar, coming out of Saudi Arabia. I am so sick of this lie that we are giving these huge packets of aid and money to Israel. We do not give them 1 cent. We give them a discount on F-35s. As far as can they go without us, I don't think you're going to have an F-35 without America. I don't think you're going to have F-15s without America. Your planes are ours. Your bombs are ours. Like most of the weapons you get them from us. It's a good partnership. You buy stuff, give you a little discount. Why do we give you a little discount? Because it's cheaper to give you a discount than have our carrier strike group over there. It's cheaper to give you a discount than to have our soldiers in our planes over there. I'd rather just sell you a plane at a discount and you watch over my interest because I gave you a good discount. It's a win-win situation. It's not like we're giving them all control over us, and they're not, giving us control over them. They're watching over it. You're going to give me a good discount? You're going to give me great weapons? Yeah, I'll watch your stuff too. Sure, I'll watch your stuff for you. You're going to give me this discount. I appreciate that discount. And you give me good guns? You're going to give me a discount? I'm going to watch your stuff. I'm going to watch my stuff. We're going to make your stuff and my stuff pass through these straits with no problem. This is a win-win situation. I am so disgusted by the exaggeration that the aid we give to Israel, a pittance when you look at our fraud. Half a Leering Center, that's what we give them. It's a pittance. And it's a discount. They don't get the money. They get a discount. Not 1 cent goes over there. They got to spend it here. I'm sick and disgusted by this lie that we give Israel aid. And I understand that because it's just 15% and they can afford to not get the discount is why Bibi has been saying for years, I want to get rid of the aid. You know why he wants to get rid of the aid? He's not dumb. He understands that the political loss from this aid, which is just a little discount, the political cost of that aid is more than the money. That's why he wants to get rid of it. That's why Bibi wants to get rid of the aid, because it is so little money that is gotten on that discount that it doesn't compare to the loss of their reputation and this propaganda about their influence to get aid. I understand if they would say, you know what, I'd get rid of the aid right now just to get them to stop saying that we're manipulating them to get aid.
Holy shit, Sketch. That was the best explanation of the U.S.-Israel strategic alliance I've ever heard. That was perfect. That was so good.
I want full Walmart.
That was so good. Oh my God, somebody should clip that part out. Fantastic. Loved it. Okay, I should write this time down. This was good. I'm going to clip this part out. Okay.
Cleanser. Next, we actually have Sketch. He would like to speak about pre-Islamic, non-supremacist pan-Arabism.
Wait. Let me do super chats. And I didn't know we we're going to go new topic. Okay. So quickly, we have 3 super chats. Alexia is saying, Armin and all, thank you. Thank you all for your kindness. You all being family means the world. How do I join VIP? Well, I see you already here. Javid Shah, Payande Iran. Thank you so much, Alexa, for the super chat. And then we have Fleshy Interloper. And thank you, Alexa. You're very sweet. Thank you for the kind words. Fleshy Interloper with the super chat saying, is Lebanon ever going to be self-policing? Well, I mean, ever, that's like you're basically giving us infinite time to get there. So I will say yes, because obviously at some point that will happen. But the question is when. I think it'll take a long time, but obviously if we give us infinite time at some point, unless before we get there, the whole concept of nation state has been completely removed and we're living in the cloud with AI or something. Maybe no then. Maybe there will be no Lebanon to self-police by then. And thank you for the super chat. And then we have Amir with another super chat. Thank you so much, Amir, saying Sketched hyped me so much. The confettis is for him. Okay, yeah, we had confettis in the chat. Oh my, Sketch, people in the chat were loving you. Loving you. Everybody was saying you're cooking. And Texas Troop is saying, I'm just so glad that Sketch is not cooking meth, given how well you were cooking. But yes, okay. So let's go to the next. What can you tell us again, BT? What was the next topic?
Yes. Sketch again wants to talk about pre-Islamic, non-supremacist pan-Arabism.
Okay, this should be interesting. Go ahead.
All right. Now, I remember a while ago you were talking about, we have our little running joke about Israeli pan-Arabism, right? But you explained that pan-Arabism has a supremacist tone that would make it impossible to be non-toxic, just like Islamic supremacism has a pan-Islamism has that Islamist tone that makes it impossible. But I remember a talk we had some time ago, you had with us, about how you turn people, how you get to people, how you talk to people. Hey, what makes you think this? What makes you think that? That you really get to know a person. And through those connections is how you turn them. Now, I would like to point out that before Muhammad, these cultures were rich. These cultures had a long history, and you have to anchor people. This is something you said yourself. You have to anchor these people to something. And if they're anchored to Islam, you got to anchor them to something else, give them a sense of self-worth, a sense of nation. It can't be a new thing, because then you can't go back to it. So I think I have seen like these videos of places before Islam, cultures, dress, dance, all these kinds of things. I've seen them from Iran. I've seen them from all over the Middle East. And if these cultures could be tied to the original culture, the thing that came before Islam, and if there could be a movement where there's a resurgence of those roots, then their culture could be, I wouldn't say segregated into like many cultures, but there could be an appreciation of what came before that makes it easier for them to not be so tied to that religion, and have them have a sense of pride that goes farther back than Muhammad and goes farther back than Islamism, because these people have these places were great before Muhammad. They had these great buildings, they had these great structures, they had these great cultures that came. There was nomadic people there, but there was, we're talking about thousands of years. These people, there have been people all over here since the times of the first Jews, since the times of Abraham, right? And they all had their own cultures. And I believe that a lot of those cultures were far less toxic than jihadism. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because you're the only person that I know that knows this technique of tying you to something else, of tying you to your nation more than your religion, tying you to your culture more than your priest. So I wanted your thoughts on this. I know it's far-fetched. I know I'm just brainstorming. I'm just being a wishful thinker. I'm just being maybe overly positive, but I'd love to see something like that, like a cultural a think tank that tries to get these people, hey, your history didn't start with Muhammad. There was a lot more to you. There's a lot more to your genes. There's a lot more to your nation than that. You understand where I'm going with this? Am I crazy? Is this a good way to go with this?
So Sketch, you have no idea how on point on this you are. Okay. In fact, you are so on point that there has been efforts to do exactly that you're trying to do, but to do exactly what you're trying to do. And it works very beautifully, because first of all, there is a very, very rich pre-Islamic Arab culture and tradition and rituals and history. And it's very secular. It's very when we say culture, it's like the poetry is a lot based on poetry, and I wouldn't call it pan-Islamic, because if you call it pan-Islamic, it would be connected to ugly, evil things. I would just say pre-Islamic Arab culture and Arab identity. And the beauty about it is that Islam is anti-Islamic. The reason why it's anti-Islamic is because Arab history before the Islam is referred to as Jahiliyyah. Okay, as the period of ignorance, as the period of see, Ahmed knows what I'm talking about. He's thumbs upping it. Ahmed, like, let us know what you think in the, if you want. Is basically a period of times that the Arabs, yes, exactly, Asr Jahiliyyah, the time of ignorance. So Islam tells Arabs that the time of Arabs before Islam is something that they should be ashamed of. Is the time where Arabs were violent, barbaric, uncivilized, and godless and disgusting. And it accuses them of burying their daughters alive, right? It basically accuses them of being the worst, right? And nothing could be farther from the truth. In fact, we know that the morality that the Arabs had before Islam was superior to what came after it. And Islam admits that, because there are many things that Muhammad told the Arabs to do, and within the own sayings, within the own hadith of the Arabs, it says that the Arabs were like, "Are you sure that's not fucked up?" And Muhammad was like, "Trust me, God said it's okay." And we're like, "That sounds like fucked up." And Muhammad was like, "Nope, it's not. It's okay. Do it." So you could see that whatever standards that they had was, because a lot of Muslims will say like, "Oh, you're judging Islamic standard based on modern standards. Back then this was normal." I'm like, nope, not even back then this was normal. Or not even back then this was normal. So but this reclaiming of the Arab identity and Arab history is something that some secular Arabs have been trying to do. It's very similar to what happens in Iran, as the Zoroastrianism is used as a way to Zoroastrian symbols and ancient history and symbolism and traditions is a way to try to reclaim the identity that Islam came and took. And it's also something that you see in Egypt, not with Arab identity, but like the symbols of Egypt before the Arab conquest, like with the pharaohs, with the so many and people from Egypt that don't think that Egypt is even Arab. They believe Egypt is not even Arab. They basically use the symbols of pre-Islamic Egypt as a way to try to reclaim the identity of ancient Egypt. The ancient Egypt, they use the symbols of ancient Egypt as a way to reclaim their identity that they had before Islam came and took over, right? So the fact that Islam is against what the Arabs stood for before Islam came to be, does two things at the same time. It basically gives them an alternative identity to Islam, which is beautiful and belongs, and it ties the people to the land. But it's also anti-Islam, right? And it has nothing to do with Arab superiority. It's just basically love, just like you said, it's love for one culture, love for one land, love for one tradition, love for one's history. So pan-Arabism is basically Arab supremacy. But what you're describing is very much in line with just loving your culture and your people and your history and your land, and not necessarily being against not being against other people, just like appreciating your people. And it has a secular unity to it because it's the time before Islam, and it treats Arabs, as this equal, is celebrating a time of Arabs, their culture, their equality, their cultural identity. I mean, they had tribal differences, but they were united with their language. I mean, they were, and their poetry. There was this huge bond, even though there was different tribes, and there was sometimes tribal warfare between them. There was a deep united beauty in Arab language and in Arab poetry. In the desert, like the poetry was the main way of the values and the culture. This is why the Quran tried to came and destroy the Arab culture, through the Quran, because the Arab culture was obsessed with poetry, and the Quran, trying to compete with that, was presented in a form of a poetry book as a way to compete against that. So yeah, no, I think you're onto something, and it's actually one of the best ways to fight, because in Iran we have our pre-Islamic history to try to fight to have an identity against Islamic identity. In Egypt we have that, in other countries we have that, but what about the original, what about the Arabs themselves, right? And this is the solution to the Arabs themselves. What do you think about
Okay,
that?
so
Okay.
Jason is asking, yeah, Sketch will reply later. Jason is asking for further reading sources on this topic, if you have any, Armin.
Say that again.
Like, do you have some sort of book that he can read more about what you're talking about?
So here, let me. I mean, the book that I like the most. Where is it? Is Did Muhammad Exist by Robert Spencer. It doesn't focus on pre-Islamic, but it shows you how Islam was created. I don't know if I have it. Yeah, but so that's the book I recommend. It shows you the political progress in the creation of Islam in that Arab environment. If you read that book, what you start to appreciate about is how this was a slow progress. It wasn't like a revelation that came from God and all of a sudden overnight everything changed. Like the destruction of the Arab identity and the replacement of that with the Muslim identity was more of a slow progress rather than overnight Muhammad came with a revelation kind of event that the Muslims pretend it was. So I liked that book a lot more than Did Muhammad Exist. I mean, the intention of the book is not to introduce you with that, but it does help understand that. There's a lot of lectures, academic lectures on YouTube that you could watch about this that would help. But let me see what else. So here's some sources. Imagining the Arab Identity and the Rise of Islam. So that's an academic publication. And then so that one. These other sources are basically hint at it, but it doesn't go directly into it.
Okay, let's go to responses and try to keep it 1 minute each, please. Ida, you go first.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to make it fast. If I remember history correctly, and I may not, Arabs came from the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, before Muhammad, tribes, Bedouin tribes, Jewish tribes, we'll say settlement, not settlements. Jewish people, Christians were there. Once Muhammad came, started to spread Islam, used Bedouin tribes as assassination. It just so spread there. Mesopotamia was never Arab. Egypt never, well, before Muhammad. Those are not Arabs. Arabia Peninsula. They spread through Islam. Very shortly.
Yes. Okay, let's go to Guy.
So, Sketch, it's actually, you hit the nail on the head of a movement that I've been seeing going on in areas near where Israel is, predominantly by non-Muslims. So you have Druze in Syria now trying to get their independence and also really embracing their own history. Now, they were never Muslims, but they're embracing their history, like with regards to their relations with the Jewish people and Jethro and like their ancient history. And also in Lebanon, it's really interesting to see Christian Lebanese people adopting their Canaanite identities as well, like actually going back to their biblical name. And it's actually justified because Christians in the Middle East are the most preserved genetically from the ancient peoples who lived there, including the Arab Christians are actually the closest genetically to the native Jews who lived in the region. They weren't as much affected by Arab conquest, and they don't have the actual Jews who came back in terms of them mixing with the cultures that they went to.
Okay, Jeffrey.
I'm going to share a quick personal experience that outlines or further reinforces the point that Sketch brought up. So in 2006, my in-laws are practicing Sunni Muslim, and it's the height of Jihad. And they have they're having their Eid at the end of Ramadan, and I was invited and sitting there, and there's like this doctrinaire douchebag from fucking Canada who went on shitting all over Israel for about an hour, and I'd had enough. So I started just hammering Islam. I just ripped it to shreds, right? I mean, outlined its own doctrine, everything. So my in-laws were visibly hurt, and they sat there and said, "How can you say you love us, yet you say you hate Islam?" And I paused for a moment, and I said, "I love you for who you are, not what Islam misled you to believe that you are. Islam came to India at the tip of a sword." So he's not wrong. That's I think Nari mentioned some of that in the chat though, right? It's gonna be extra hard, even though it should be done, because of how brutal Islam was and is. To separate Islam, the doctrine, from the Ummah, or the global Muslim community and those that identify as being Muslim, is a really hard line to walk because of all the Islamic fundamentalist terrorists that make it that hard. Whether it's Hezbollah or the
wrap it up
Mullahs
and
or
let's go to
anything
Sketch.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Sketch.
Yes, I mean, from wherever. If the Arabs were Bedouin, I'm sure the Bedouin customs, going and making tents, we have this with the Cherokee and the Navajo. They had their warlike tendencies, but there is a culture there that they can relate to. I would rather have them relate to that than to Islamism, because if they're more tied to being Bedouins and being in sync with the land and how we used to cook and how we understand the lands and the animals and all this, it's better than Islam, because Islam took them and their Bedouin stuff. And I'm not saying that they were perfect, because I mean, if you really go into the stuff that the Native Americans did, they were kind of fucked up too. I don't want to get into that too much. I just want to tie them to anything that's not Islam, because Islam is more expansionist. And I just want to give them an out, just give them an alternative. I'm away from Islam. And I understand that the Egyptians, it may be a little easier. It may be a little easier than with the literal Arabs or the Arabian Peninsula, but anything would be better than the expansionist, world conquering, jihadist, we must conquer with our religion, and anything that's not our religion is beneath us and to be enslaved. Right. So whatever was before that is probably going to be better than what they got now. So whatever sliver there is there of poetry, of dress, of communication with nature, of living in communally and having respect and love for your family, not being into whatever, any small sliver, anything would be better than the global expansionist Islam.
Yes, and jinns as well. Jinns, Islam turned jinns into demonic creatures. They used to be these beautiful nature spirit things rather than demons. So we could bring them in Arab culture. So we could bring that back as well.
All right, let's do super chats.
Okay. 2 super chats. One from BT saying Islam colonized them all. That's why the culture is haram. Oh, okay. Yes, true. I always like to say Arabs were the first victims of Islam. Everyone else came after. And then we got another super chat from Justin saying, Armin, if you're versed in Zoroastrianism, I would love to hear more about it sometime. Ooh, I've done some rudimentary research on it, but if you have more advanced knowledge, I'd love to hear. So the stuff I could tell you the stuff I know, and then we could like learn more here together. I think Nara might know a lot as well. I don't know, but it confuses people because they have two gods, but it's at the same time one of the oldest monotheistic religions. Like, how do you have two gods, but it's like one of the oldest monotheistic religion? Is because they worship only one of them, the other one is evil. Also, I think many people don't know that Zoroastrianism has been very, very influential in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There has been a lot of influence from Zoroastrianism. Many of the most fundamental views within these religions come from Zoroastrianism. Many people don't know that. I think most people know that Zoroastrianism has a lot of fire in it. Some people think, like Muslims lie about Zoroastrianism, saying Zoroastrianism worship fire. They don't worship fire. Fire is holy in Zoroastrianism as a purifying. Is purifying, but it's not. They don't actually worship it. I think they worship it because they have fire temples. But yeah. So you guys know the good god is Ahura Mazda. The bad god is Ahriman. I don't know why English people call it Agraminu. We call it Ahriman. And then Goftorinik, Kedarinik, Pendarinik. So there are three. So in Zoroastrianism, it's all about free will. Free will is the main part of Zoroastrianism, and that's why the main three commandments of Zoroastrianism is good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. So this is what basically it's really much about putting the responsibility on the individual decisions. What else? Oh, so there is some sects of Zoroastrianism that suggest that the Ahriman and Ahura Mazda, which is the bad god and the good god, they had a mom, and their mom is time. So I don't know if all Zoroastrians believes in this, but this is in some sects of Zoroastrianism is there. The book is Avesta. Oh, and there's a fun story so you guys know there's a Zoroastrian population in India. These are the people who basically fled Iran after the Arab conquest. They basically went to India to run away from the Arab conquest. And when they reached India, they told they were trying to seek refuge in India, and the ruler in India showed the Zoroastrians a cup of milk, saying that my country is full, so you guys can't come in. And the Iranians going to India, they put some sugar in that milk, saying like, look, it actually fits in there, and it sweetens the milk, and you dissolve into the society, and you're gonna merge with it, and you're gonna make it better. So that's the legend that's why India allowed the Zoroastrians to come into India, because of that story. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it is legend. And okay, so those are the things I know, but we could talk about more. And also we have another super chat by BT. Thank you, BT, saying Islam is a laundering scheme for sin. Oh, wow. Okay, that's powerful. Thank you so much for the super chats. Okay, so what are we next?
Samantha wants to talk about Code Pink in Cuba.
Ooh.
Okay, so I don't know how true this is, but I've just been hearing this from a lot of people that because you know how they received a lot of backlash for staying at like a 5-star hotel in like Havana when like the country itself is like poor and running out of power. So I've heard from a lot of people that the reason they stayed where they stayed was because the US government made it illegal for them to like pretty much stay anywhere like else besides like a bunch of like 5-star hotels, so they kind of had to work within what the US allowed.
Give us
and that like
context? You should give us a context for people who have no idea what you're referring to, the thing that happened. Yeah.
Okay, so Cuba is a communist country that has a lot of poverty due to US sanctions against the Cuban government, and because of that there's like a lot of like issues with like poverty and power outages. So Code Pink, which is a very anti-capitalist group went on like what they were calling a humanitarian mission to like bring things to Cuba, and they stayed at like a 5-star hotel, and there's been a lot of backlash against that. And what I'm hearing is that the reason they stayed at a 5-star hotel is because the US government made it illegal for them to like stay anywhere that's not an approved hotel, which were like nice 5-star hotels. And I'm also hearing a lot of people saying that they think the reason the US government did that was specifically to create this propaganda around the humanitarian mission to Cuba. So this is just what I'm hearing. I don't know how much truth there is to it, so I'm sure someone else could probably shed light on it, but
Okay, so let's see what other people have to say. I'm gonna search for this while other people speak. But Cuba is not. Cuba is pure. Cuba is poor because of communism, not because of U.S. sanctions. But let's see what other people have to say.
Okay, so Sketch.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of people say it's not a standard of any type of sourcing. Like this is one thing that the left likes to do. I hear a lot of people say, "I heard," "I hear." That doesn't matter what you hear. I mean, did you hear it from your dog? Did you hear it from the bum in the corner? That's no standard. You're talking about the Gran Hotel Bristol. Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna see what I could do is what anyone could do before they start propagating things they hear. They could check, right? I'm just putting it out there. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm putting you on the spot. I'm just gonna tell the whole planet, Grok is free. So is ChatGPT and Gemini. So when you hear stuff, check it. Okay, so the claim we had to stay there because it is the only approved option is basically false, misleading. And I'm going to put the link here from PolitiFact. This is a false claim. Took me 5 minutes to check. So when you hear stuff, doubt it. Because just because you hear stuff from people you like doesn't make it true. Like, this is not a standard for anything. Now, if I was going to say, hey, such and such is bad, and that's another thing. They state things as fact. All right. The reason why Cuba is poor is because of communism. Gee, then why does Raul Castro own Gaesa, the company, right, that runs the petrochemicals and all that stuff in Cuba? How come he has millions and billions of dollars in his bank? Why doesn't the millions and billions of dollars in this communist Raul Castro's bank going to the streets, going to the people, going to the food, going to the power plant? I thought y'all were communists. Why do you keep so much wealth in Raul Castro's banks, you fake communists? Oh, it's because real communism has never been tried because it's just a method to get a few people to own everything, right? Communism is always evil. It's always just a scheme to put very few people in power. And you could say no, but you can't prove it. It's just what you heard, right? You can shake your head and say, no, communism is good, but you can never prove it. Just like you can never prove that that was the only hotel they stay at. You say things that you heard. You're a repeater. You're not a thinker. You got to become a thinker because most communists are either malicious or repeaters. The malicious ones are the ones that end up with $150 billion in the bank like Castro. And the repeaters are the ones that end up in the street with no food and the power going out. Repeaters just repeat. Oh, I heard, and I repeat, and I heard. When they ask you to prove it, they can never prove it. Where has this worked? Nowhere, never. So basically, I'm going to put more of this. There's the PolitiFact, and this is like no, the U.S. does not only approve one hotel. This is another source straight from official websites from the government. So, you know, I'm just disgusted by these people that believe in nonsense and speak it of as true. Oh, because they are so poor. They're so poor because of the USA. It's the USA that keeps all the Cuba's monies in Raul Castro's bank. It's the USA that keeps all the Cuba's money in Gaesa. Oh, it couldn't be that they're doing it because they have their mansions in Cuba and they don't want to spread it out to the public. No. Let me be an ignorant white liberal in New York explaining to everyone the problems of Latino Cubans. Yeah, it's
Can
not
we
communism.
also hear from Jose for like 1 minute before Armin has to go?
Jose, go off. I'm with you.
Samantha, love you. Armin's right. You have to be careful what you hear. I would always look for second source. Gaesa is the only company in Cuba. It owns everything, including the military. Okay? All the generals in the military, they live in a very nice place called Miramar. Miramar has homes that would put to shame a lot of homes in the United States. And that's in Cuba. Okay? In Cuba. Think about that. Miramar has yachts on the intercoastal. Okay? Raul Castro is a multi-billionaire. I thought you hated billionaires. Flat out. Okay? Let me tell you something. The current president of Cuba, the white-haired guy, I don't even want to say his name. I hate his guts because all he is the president of the Communist Party. He's not really the leader. It's still Raul. But the guy with the white hair, his sister's eldest son just bought a $3 million mansion in Madrid, Spain. Why? That's an exit visa. That's to get them out if it goes bad. Okay? That's just him. We haven't heard what the Castros have done. They already own properties in Spain. I thought they own property in Venezuela as well. That's out of the question. But that's the people who really run Cuba. The set average salary in Cuba is $20 US a month. Okay? I put an X in the chat thing about a 97-year-old former anesthesiologist collecting cans to be able to afford to get a bit of bread. Okay? That's not the U.S. That's just people that want to stick to USA for everything. Like, for instance, this oil embargo that I keep hearing it's a blockade, there's no need to ships because even the Russian ship that was out in the Bahamas decided it wasn't profitable anymore to hang around and went to South America to take their oil elsewhere because there was the threat of an embargo against the country delivering it that stopped it. So your heart's in the right place. I know you care about the Cuban people, but it's not the American government. It's the Cuban regime. Okay? And I'm saying that to you as a person that cares about you and your well-being. All right? I'm just saying that to you. This is not an attack. This is just an explanation of what's going on. And if you would like to continue this conversation after Armin's gone, I'll be more than happy to spend the full 2 hours or 3 hours that we have for that and explain to you bit by bit and answer any question you have. But Cuba is not, let me finish real quick. Cuba is the favorite little, see how well Cuba's doing? See how well Cuba's doing? That's his favorite topic of Bernie Sanders. That's the favorite topic of Bernie Sanders. And guess what? He's never worked a day in his life either. That's all.
So, guys,
now you get like 15 seconds. Now Armin has to go. Okay.
Yeah. So,
sure.
by the way,
Armin,
guys, Danny, if he's interrupting you, please understand that he's trying to make sure that I get the time to eat. So, like, that's the only reason why he's doing that. So, be nice to Armand. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry, Danny, for putting you in that position. Just really quickly, I summarized a sketch article from PolitiFact. The main part of it is this. It says while the U.S. does ban Americans from staying at roughly 400 state-controlled properties, Pikers claim that Americans must stay in five-star hotels is false. Smaller legal options like private rentals are available. So that's why he's saying his statement is false. There were other alternatives. And by the way, also thank you for being nice to Samantha while also disagreeing with her, everybody. Also, with regards to the communism and the reason why communism is responsible for the poverty in Cuba, here are the points, right? So nationalizing almost all private businesses and agricultural land eroded personal incentives to work efficiently, which stifled innovation and severely reduced crop yields over time. right? There's that. Then we have the economy suffers from heavy state bureaucracy, mismanagement, and opaque military-run entities like I know this is like their IRGC. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's GAESA. It's very famous in Cuba, and it's kind of like their version of IRGC. It's like the military controlling a lot of the economy. I think it's Geisa. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that they monopolize resources with virtually no public accountability. This miscalculation of capital and lack of maintenance on public services has led to the crumbling infrastructure, accumulating devastating ongoing nationwide blackouts. And also we had state rationing fails to meet basic daily nutrition needs. There's that. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. And also, if you actually look at U.S. sanctions, you can see the timing of it is not at all in line with the poverty. The poverty of Cuba completely aligns with the timing of communism rather than the U.S. sanctions. But I'm not going to go over the detail because that's going to take a lot of time. It's really obvious that communism is responsible for the poverty in Cuba. Okay, guys. So now you guys could talk about everything that you wanted to talk about without anyone pressuring you anymore. And Danny, BT, I know she's not. Oh, BT, she's still here. BT, Danny, thank you so much for modding again. I do not know how I would do any of this without you guys. Love you guys, and let me stop the recording. And while it's stopping the recording, I'll say, Am Israel Chai, Slava Ukrainian. Long live America. Javid Shah, Payanderan. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Hey, Armin, one quick question. Is he gone? Is he still here?
He's still here. Go.
Are we off air?
Yes. Fast.
Oh, okay. Quick question.